Serial killer facts that will haunt your nightmares. Part 4. Researchers used AI deepfake technology to compile the faces of every serial killer into one man. Dude looks like a psychopath. If you look anything like that, you're probably a serial killer. Serial killer Ed Kemper was friends with the police officers who were investigating his murders. They all hung out at a bar together called the Jury Room. His nickname was Big Ed, and when he confessed to them, they thought it was a joke. Jeffrey Dahmer once made a drink laced with sleeping pills for a guest, but accidentally drank it himself. He later woke up to find that his soon-to-be victim had robbed him while he was sleeping. In 1906, a Moroccan murderer was sentenced to be walled up alive after he was found guilty of killing 36 women. His cries for help were heard for 2 days straight before he went silent.
This is a really creepy story, and it's just unfolding in South Korea right now. There were a pair of women's shoes that seemed to be pretty hard to get, but only 12 boutiques in all of South Korea sold this particular woman's shoe. Maybe this was even like a selling point for the buyers. It seemed like a good purchase until every single one of those women, they get a phone call from the police. And it was strange. The police called and asked, "Hi, is this so-and-so? Did you buy the shoes at this blank boutique?" "Yeah. How did you know where I bought it?" The police told the woman, "You're not in trouble. We're just investigating a case and we need to make sure that you're alive and well." These same women would later turn on the news and find out that the police were investigating a serial killer, and that killer had a pair of these exact shoes in his apartment, and the police suspected it belonged to a victim. The police also found a dead body shoved and locked into his apartment closet. It's just so freaky. Like, a lot of people have been talking about this in South Korea because it would freak me out too. I don't know if I could ever even wear those same shoes ever again. Could you?
10-year-old Candace Elmore was put up for adoption as her mom was a teen mom and struggled financially, and her father abused her. She was adopted by a single woman who was a pediatric nurse. Due to Candace having a, quote, poor attitude, she was sent to a $7,000 two-week therapy session. A fun fact, all 4 of these therapists did not have licenses. They wanted to perform a rebirthing session, which is where they wrap her in a flannel sheet and put pillows over her face. This apparently simulates a womb and makes the person more attached to their birth mother. For 40 minutes, they pushed the pillow onto her face while she begged for her life, and when she lost consciousness, they began shouting, "Quitter, quitter, quitter." At one point, Candace even claimed that she was dying, and they stated, and I quote, "Go ahead, die right now, for real, for real." Unfortunately, she did pass away after those 40 minutes. However, all 4 of them were arrested. 2 of them got 10 years, and the other 2 got 16. But honestly, I think they all deserved life.
I am. Oh, you're so traumatized, it makes me wanna cry. You dumb motherfucker, I loved you, I loved you, I loved you.
Craigslist stories that should be wiped from our memory. Number 3, Michelle Wilkins. Warning, this is a really dark case. On March 18th, 2015, Michelle Wilkins, who was 7 months pregnant, responded to a Craigslist ad stating that they were selling baby clothes in Boulder County, Colorado. She arrived at Danelle Lane's home where they talked about her pregnancy, and a little later on, Danelle lured her down to her basement, claiming that is where the baby clothes were. On their way down, that is when Danelle attacked her.
Hit her up the head with a lava lamp, which broke in a thick glass. She took a piece of the lava lamp, Michelle in the neck with it, and as it was flirting from Michelle's neck, she choked her, pushed her down on the bed, held a pillow over her until she was unconscious, cut Aurora, the baby, out. Aurora by then was, and carried Aurora upstairs and laid her dead in the bathtub.
To everyone's shock, Michelle did survive this brutal attack, however, her baby did not. Danelle, with tears filling her eyes, was sentenced to 100 years in prison, and honestly, that is exactly what she deserves.
Don't mind the pain on my hand. So anyhow, so she makes these sounds when you touch that button. However, it's supposed to be for when she sits. However,
the Trolls doll that you just saw ignited an internet firestorm, and for just cause. So essentially, this was a Trolls World Tour doll sold by Hasbro back in 2020. And as you saw in that video, when you touched the troll doll's private area, it giggled and let out an excited little yelp. Now, obviously, parents that saw this were really concerned and claimed that it promoted pedophilia and child abuse. And parents felt that it was wildly inappropriate that when you touched this troll doll's private area, it let out those excited sounds. A Change.org petition was actually started back when this whole thing was going wild on social media. and it garnered over 300,000 signatures. That should show you that this is an issue that a lot of parents actually cared about. Hasbro eventually issued an apology and stated that they were pulling these dolls from the shelves. But my question is, how did something like this actually make it out of the warehouse, out of development, onto shelves? Did not one person in that entire massive multinational corporation stop and think, this is kind of weird? I don't know. This story just leaves kind of a bad taste in my mouth. But I am glad that at the end of the day, this was exposed and these toys were pulled from the shelves.
A girl was sitting on a subway late at night when she noticed the woman sitting across from her was staring at her intently. The woman was sitting between two old men. The girl kept looking away, but the woman wouldn't break eye contact with her. The stare was beginning to freak the girl out. At the next stop, a new passenger got on, and it was a tall man wearing a trench coat. He then sat down next to the girl, and the woman paid no attention to the man in the trench coat. And she just kept looking at the girl, who was getting more and more creeped out as time went on. The two men didn't even glance in her direction. She pretended not to notice, but every time she glanced at the strange woman, the stare continued. When the train was pulling into the next stop, the man in the trench coat got up to leave, but suddenly he grabbed the girl's arm tightly, and as the doors opened, he dragged her off the train. The doors shut and the subway pulled off, leaving the girl alone with the man in the trench coat. She started screaming out loud, begging for help, but the man in the trench coat then said, "Calm down, I just saved your life. I didn't mean to scare you, but I had to get you off that train." The woman sitting opposite of you was dead, and the two men beside her were holding up her body.
This is the case of Alicia Moore. On November 2nd, 2012, Alicia went missing. She attended Greenville High School. Alicia was just 16 when her life was violently snatched from her. She was last seen exiting a school bus on November 2nd at 3:25 p.m., according to Greenville Police Chief Dan Buskin, about a block from her home. 3 days later, her body was discovered by a construction worker 40 miles away in a furniture trunk on the side of a remote stretch of Highway 47. An Amber Alert was not issued for the girl, and anger was building over the perceived negligence of the police department. Chief Buskin said that Alicia's disappearance did not meet the criteria for an Amber Alert, and that authorities couldn't be sure she was abducted. Tragically, there were signs of trauma on Alicia's body, and this is not the first time that she was assaulted. Months before she was killed, her mom told police that 49-year-old Terry Dwayne Ramsire abused her.
Things that bother you, they never bother me.
I will be showing the video, but nonetheless, hi, my name is Ethan, and here's everything you need to know in under 1 minute. In September of 2017, 31-year-old Laura Wallen vanished into thin air. Her boyfriend Tyler Tessier had played the part of the worried boyfriend desperate for answers. However, he was living a double life. He had a fiance, and he feared that Laura would expose her pregnancy. The night of her unaliving, Laura texted her friend and stated, "Tyler has taken me to an open field in Damascus. I'm not sure why we're here, but it's in the middle of nowhere." Her body was found a few days later. Sam and Colby eventually uploaded a video where they were in the same area at the same time, and they captured a woman begging for help. Here's the video.
Did you get that?
Yeah, I got that. Somebody is screaming.
Someone's screaming bloody murder.
Whoa.
Guys, what the do you hear that? Yeah.
What do you guys think?
People before and after prison.
What's the location of the emergency?
Please help me!
Yes, what address do you need help?
I'm not on an address, I'm on the road on Myers Road! He's trying to kill me!
Which road are you on?
Myers Road in Oregon City!
Okay, do you have an address? Listen.
Coffee lane, come on, get a coffee here now!
Okay, who's trying to kill you?
My husband! He's trying to kill my pickup truck!
Okay, what?
He's trying to kill
breath so I can understand you. Ma'am, I've already got help coming. I need you to tell me wire and what.
On plan. I'm on plan. Squire.
Just a minute.
I'm walking. He shot me.
Okay, you're on Squire at Glenview Court?
He shot me.
Okay, where did he shoot you?
In the chest.
In the chest?
He's over there.
In 2004, a couple with children were trying out a new babysitter. About an hour after they left for a night on the town, they realized they had forgotten to give their cell phone number, so one of them called her. After she wrote down the number, the babysitter asked if she could watch satellite TV in their bedroom. She had just put the children to bed and wanted to watch a particular show. The parents didn't want their children watching too much garbage, so the living room TV did not have satellite channels. Well, of course, she could watch the TV in the room, they replied. Excited, the babysitter went to the master bedroom, and once she went inside, something in the room shocked her. It was a massive clown doll sitting on an armchair with a creepy and ominous face. The babysitter tried to ignore the doll and just try to watch the TV. But after just a few minutes, she got this weird, eerie feeling that something was watching her, so she turned towards her left shoulder, and when she did, the clown doll suddenly was staring right at her. Immediately creeped out, the babysitter called the couple and asked if she could put a sheet or a blanket over the clown doll that was in the bedroom, as it kind of made her nervous. The children's father, confused, replied, "What are you talking about? We don't have a clown doll." The babysitter immediately dropped her phone and she slowly turned over her left shoulder again.
This is the most unsettling and eerie video you will ever watch. What I'm about to show you is the most realistically colored and stabilized version of Jack Talasio's extremely eerie 9/11 footage. It was taken at the base of the South Tower in the Austin J. Tobin Plaza. And a version of Billy Joel's She's Always a Woman is playing in the background. There's something about this video that makes it extremely unsettling, and you will pick up on it very easily. There's just so much chaos and destruction, and somehow it seems peaceful.
This is really weird, but have you heard this? Like, there is a guy who has his dog's head grafted onto him.
No, what's that?
Look, so in 2013, Rodrigo Braga, a guy from Brazil, wanted to pay a special tribute to his beloved departed dog.
Okay.
So he decided to integrate the nose, ears, and other body parts of his dog into his project. For several years, internet users believed this, but it was later revealed to be an artistic elaboration done with Photoshop, right?
Okay.
Well, they were completely wrong, but before continuing, I wanted to warn you guys that more and more people have reported that their phones were being spied on by a blue radio app. This can appear on your phone at any time. To check that this does not happen, click on this icon, then on more. If you see it, delete it immediately. In truth, Rodrigo Braga produced an extremely realistic copy of his own face. He then used the remains of a real dog that had been recently euthanized to realize his artistic creation. So it is not a simple, harmless photo montage, since Rodrigo actually used the body of a small dog for this installation.
Normal Photos Disturbing Backstories Part 15. This is the class of '99 from Columbine High School. And this looks like a normal class picture, and yeah, it is, except one detail about it. If you look closely at the photo, in the upper left corner, some kids are pointing pretend guns at the camera. Two of them are Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, who perpetrated the Columbine High School massacre in 1999, shortly after this photo was taken. They killed 12 students and one teacher, injured 21 people, and injured 3 others while trying to escape from the school. Then they committed suicide after that.
She didn't report to work on her next scheduled day, which was the following Monday. This was highly unusual. She was never late for work, or missed a shift without calling. A couple of days later, her mom came in, frantically asking if her daughter had been to work. She hadn't come home or called since Friday night. If she was coming home late or staying at some place, she would always call her mother. We were all freaked out a little bit. Her mother eventually reported her missing, and the police came around and questioned both me and the owner about that Friday night. The owner, being a middle-aged woman and me being a goofy 17-year-old kid, didn't interest them much as potential suspects or even persons of interest. After the police left, the teasing started. Restaurant workers can be a hard bunch, especially the kitchen staff, and most have a very dark sense of humor, at least the ones that I worked with.
This is the scariest story about the new parents, and it's absolutely chilling. There was a kid named Michael who was coming downstairs for breakfast one morning. When he sat down at the table to eat, his mom and dad both looked at him and said good morning. Michael then said good morning back, but they continued to talk to him. Michael then noticed that something just wasn't right. He noticed his parents were never this nice, especially in the morning. He then asked them if they were okay, and they both looked at him with a smile on their face and said, "Yes, honey, of course we are." Michael then finished breakfast and went back upstairs. But as he was walking back to his room, he noticed that one of the hallway doors was cracked open a little bit. Michael then went over to close it when he suddenly smelled something absolutely terrible. He then opened the door, and what he saw made his stomach drop to the floor. Inside were his mom and dad's dead body with their throats slit and multiple stab wounds all around their body. Michael then heard a voice behind him say, "You were never supposed to see that. Now we have to do it to you."
The haunting disappearance of the Jameson family in 2009 gained public attention and media coverage after some disturbing footage of the family was found by police. In 2009, Bobby and Sherilyn Jameson lived with their 6-year-old daughter Madison in Eufaula, Oklahoma. Although they lived what appeared to be normal lives, the Jamesons' marriage was a rocky one, and police have long tried to figure out if their difficult circumstances were somehow tied to their disappearance. Around the time of their disappearance, the couple had been dealing with financial issues. Since 2003, the Jamesons had been on disability after Bobby was involved in a serious car accident that left him with severe chronic back pain. His wife Sherilyn had her own health issues. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, but sometimes refused to take her medication. In 2009, the family decided to drive up to check out a 40-acre plot of land in Red Oaks, Oklahoma, about 30 miles away from their home in Eufaula. They specifically asked to inspect the plot of land without a real estate agent present. The Jamesons had told their friends and family that they were planning on moving there to start a new life after pulling their 6-year-old daughter Madison out of kindergarten over some kind of disagreement with their daughter's school. During the week they drove up to Red Oaks, nobody heard from the family. Because they were an unusually private family that often went off the grid without contacting anybody for weeks at a time, nobody assumed that the Jamesons had disappeared. But after a pair of hunters discovered the family's truck abandoned on a dirt road at the edge of the woods 9 days after they were last seen, it was clear that something was wrong. Inside the truck, police found a GPS, cell phones, empty pill bottles, wallets, and $32,000 in cash, which was extremely strange considering the Jamesons had been struggling financially. Disturbingly, the Jamesons' dog was found alive in the truck, dehydrated and starving after spending days in the locked vehicle. Police also reported that they found a chilling 11-page angry letter from Sherilyn to Bobby, in which she accused him of hating his daughter and being a loner and a hermit. According to a specific police report, there was a haunting sentence in the letter that read, "I would not wish my daughter to be raised in foster care because of you being in prison for attempted murder and her mother dead." At this point, it was impossible for anyone to know what had happened to the Jamesons. But immediately after it was determined that the family was missing, police started a search around the area where the truck was found. For 9 months, a search team consisting of 400 volunteers, 16 search dogs, unmanned drones, planes, horses, and a specialized search unit scoured the woods in search of the missing family. During this time, police found unsettling footage recorded by the family's home security cameras from the day the Jamesons vanished.
So this happened when I was 20 years old. I'm 22 now, so it's not that long ago. While in college, I was a babysitter during the week for a family, and sometimes I would nanny for this other, wealthier family on the weekends. They would go away often on the weekends and leave their 2 kids, so I would stay at the house for the weekend with the kids. They had a whole dedicated guest bedroom just for me, and the family was super nice, so it was honestly great while it lasted. It happened in the fall. The leaves were all falling and it was chilly outside. I had gotten to the house Friday, and Friday night went completely fine. I just played with the 2 kids, who I'll nickname James and Jessica. James was 7, Jessica was 5. They were both cute and well behaved. Their bedtimes were 7:30 for Jessica and 8:30 for James. During the day I'd play with each of them with their toys. The family had 2 dedicated rooms for their toys, one for Jess, one for James. Jessica loved her dolls and dollhouses. I spent a lot of time playing with her. James loved playing his video games, so I'd watch him play. These kids really had everything, and the house was gorgeous. It was a giant property with a big pond in the middle. It had a separate 3-car garage, and then a pool with a pool house across the pond, which was also a bar and rec room, with a pool table and darts, arcade games, and a giant TV and multiple sofas. This family was so well off and over the top that they even had an intercom that connected from the pool house to the actual house, so that if you press a button on the wall in either place, it would ring and then you could talk through it. The pool house also had a giant window that overlooked the pond and had a view of the house. So after the kids went to bed, I was free to do as I pleased for the night. It was great. I wasn't supposed to have friends over though. That was a rule I respected. I would just FaceTime my friends and watch movies in the pool house to pass the time. It was not a bad place to have free time in, I'll tell you that. I started getting hungry, so I walked back across the property to the house, entered the code to let myself in, and went to the kitchen. They had so many snacks and food that I was allowed to help myself to. I grabbed a frozen snack from the freezer and threw it in the microwave. And when I was done, I went back across the property to the pool house. I liked hanging out in there more because I could be louder on the phone and have the TV as loud as I want without waking the kids. I was on the couch eating, watching the movie White Chicks, while texting a bunch of my friends. I was just in the middle of telling my friends how great of a gig this was, when the intercom beeper gave me a heart attack. I went to go press the answer button, and I heard Jessica's voice on the other end, saying she's scared because she keeps hearing noises. Usually she'd sleep through the night, so I'd have to go tuck her back in. I set my food down and ran back across the yard to the house. I entered through the door with the code lock again and went to Jess's room. She must have ran straight back to her bed after we got off the intercom, because she was already back in her bed all scared. I went to tickle her and tuck her in, just so she wouldn't be scared anymore. When she felt better, I left her room, shut the door, and walked down the hall back to the kitchen to grab some wine. As I was looking for a wine opener, I heard the ever so lightest crack in the wood floor from another room. I froze and looked in that direction, instinctively waiting for a second sound. I didn't want to start freaking myself out now. I didn't want Jessica saying she's hearing noises to get in my head. I was thinking it was a regular house settling noise. I admit I was a little creeped out now, but I left the lights and TV on in the pool house, so I had to go back. I went outside, locked the door with the code, and ran across to the pool house. I sat back down on the couch and resumed eating the rest of my food. I didn't end up bringing the wine. I still had White Chicks on, though I was mostly just getting distracted on my phone. Then that damn intercom went off again, making me jump in my seat. I hurried to answer it, and when I did, there was silence on the other end. "Jessica," I said into the mic. I thought for sure I heard someone breathing, but that's all I could hear. I said both Jessica and James' names at least 3 times each. Now I was actually starting to become terrified. I called my friend Kelsey and told her I want her to come here because I'm actually getting really scared. I told her that the little girl I'm watching said that she was hearing noises, and then I heard a noise, and now someone pressed the intercom button but didn't say anything. I felt like it was not something one of the kids would do. I was still on the phone with Kelsey, who was telling me to stop being paranoid, but she also sounded drunk. I was looking out the window to the house the whole time I was on the phone with her. The hallway lights turned on. I told Kelsey this, and any ounce of possibility that it was one of the kids disappeared when a large figure stepped into